Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. Join us, Eric Guise and Nick Johnson, as we dive into today's best EdTech tools, tips, and practices. We do the research so you can teach your class. Remember to follow us on social media like Instagram, X, or Facebook by looking for the handle @EdTech Throwdown. Now please enjoy the show. Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. This is episode 188 called 10 Tips for Using AI in Your Classroom, Part 2. Nick and I each have selected 5 of our top tips for using AI to increase student learning and to help you manage your classroom and sometimes your life. Nick presented his 5 tips in the last episode, and today I will do the same. Listen in to learn about what they are, why we like them, and how they might advance your classroom. This is another episode you don't want to miss. Check it out. Let's get into our philosophy. Before every presentation, we like to remind people that we know that EdTech is not a silver bullet, but we believe it has the power to increase learning for diverse learners in what ways otherwise would not be possible. Basically, we are EdTech enthusiasts, but we both believe that nothing is going to replace good teaching. However, it could enhance good teaching. All right, as I said, Nick already went over his 5 in part 1. I'm going to go over my 5 now. The first one is the AI Works Cited. So if we go back to when the internet first came out and Wikipedia first came out, which was January 15th, 2001, we know that a lot changed then, and there was panic set in the world of education. Teachers were worried that people were going to turn in Wikipedia articles as their own work. And now it has resurfaced again with AI. So I was a senior in high school when Wikipedia came out. I remembered my English teacher, and he made up a clear-cut process. And it was basically, he wanted photocopies for sources. He wanted annotated works cited. He wanted citations, both internal, external. He wanted a peer-edited rough draft and a final paper. All of that stuff stapled together. And what that did is that deterred students from cheating, deterred us from using Wikipedia in the wrong way. So AI brings up the same question. How can teachers create a process that is clear and will help deter students from using AI inappropriately? So my English teacher made this process, and it didn't basically, he didn't want us to shy away from using Wikipedia. He just wanted it used in the correct way. And I think with AI, we need to start doing that in a way that we are teaching good uses of AI and the proper way of using it. So what I've done is created AI Works Cited. The process is this. The teacher will introduce the project, I should say, and they will provide a description and a rubric, but they will also provide acceptable uses of AI tools. All right, so here I attached a checklist to this presentation that you could use for your projects in communicating how to use AI properly with your students. So basically, it's a list of all the different uses that I could come up with that we could think of as teachers that students may use AI. And as you check them, they turn green. So that green is like a green light to use that any particular AI tool in the way that it is describing. All right, so you can explore topics of interest and inquiry. So if we were having a science fair, you could go to ChatGPT or any AI tool of your choice, and you can say, come up with a list of 30 different science fair projects for 12th graders. And then you could look at that and kind of pick which ones that are interesting to you. All right, so that is an acceptable use of AI. The AI Works Cited itself is 3 parts. So if you think of a Works Cited for a scholarly resource, you have APA or MLA or Chicago or whatever format you want, they have different things that make up that Works Cited. Well, in the AI Works Cited, we would ask for what AI tool are you using? So if they're using ChatGPT, they would list that. What prompt did you input? So we want the input that they put into that AI tool, and then we want the output they got as well. So this is part of the AI Works Cited process. At our school, we also make them start the project in Google, so we could see any copy and paste using things like revision history, which is a Google Chrome extension. All right, so for each project, and I'm not saying homeworks that could get a little tedious. That's just that's usually just formative assessment there. You're checking for understanding. But the things that are graded worth a lot of points, we make them follow this process. So once again, you introduce the project, you say the different ways, you document, you communicate ways that they may use AI tools, and then they're responsible for the tools that they used, the prop that they inputted, and making sure the output is there. If all that stuff is in one spot, it should be very easy for the understanding that students did their own work and they only used AI for the reason that they stated that they were going to use it. All right, let's go into the next one, which is, all right, let's get into my first AI tool here. This is called Khan Academy Writing Coach. This is an AI writing assistance tool. It's part of Khan Academy. If you're familiar with the AI platform that Khan Academy made called Khanmigo, it's under Khanmigo. Khanmigo is a list of AI tools that teachers can use for free, similar to EduAid and Magic School. Khanmigo has a lot of the AI tools such as lesson planner, rubric generator. They have a Bluekit quiz question generator. They have a lot of other different tools out there. They keep adding more and more tools, but this is kind of falls under the nest of Khan Academy and the Khanmigo, and this is called Khan Academy Writing Coach. In this platform, you'll have a dashboard. The teacher will be able to make an assignment, push it out to the students. The students go in, and for example, if I made a photosynthesis biolab formal write-up, I could put the instructions to that particular assignment in there. I could give examples. I can list what they can and cannot use as far as AI and communicate any rubrics or any other instructions, and then they'll work within this assignment. This assignment is pretty cool because it's broken up into 4 writing processes that Khan Academy Writing Coach has come up with, and at each one of these stages, the 4 stages, it's going to give students feedback. So it's going to go through the brainstorming, pre-writing exercises, basically the shell or the skeleton form of what they're going to write, and then it'll go through the writing process and provide feedback. So it's a very awesome platform. It's a safe space for students to really work in. So for example, if the first thing I asked the students to do was to make a thesis statement or a hypothesis for that experiment, and they forgot what the thesis statement is or how to write one, they can ask, how do I write a good thesis statement? And the AI chatbot is going to help them write that. They're not going to give them the answer, but they will say, okay, a good thesis usually consists of X, Y, and Z. Why don't you try to write one based on this feedback? Students will write it, they'll submit it, and then it will say, you did a very nice job at writing a thesis statement. Consider adding these 2 parts. And the students will do that. They'll check in after each segment. They'll get feedback. They'll make improvements. They'll go to the next part of the writing process until it's complete. So Khan Academy Writing Coach, definitely check that out. Like I said, Khanmigo, free for teachers. Make sure that you're using it. It's easy on the wallet. Where they're getting their paid subscriptions are with parents and students, and I believe it's a yearly fee, and it's relatively affordable. All right, let's go into our next tip or tool. All right, so this next tip or tool is really another place where you can get organized AI tools for teachers for free. And I'm telling you that this site is the most organized. It's the most content specific or use specific case of them all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this website. Remember, everything in this presentation is clickable and it will take you exactly where you need to go. All right, so we are at Teacher Server and they have over 1,000 different free AI tools for educators. All right, so it is free, so make sure you check this out. But what makes this really different than any of the other AI tool hubs is that it is super organized. So if you go over to the left here, if you're a pre-K through 12th grade teacher, you could see all these different subcategories. General, science teacher, social studies, math, reading, writing, art, music, and PE, special ed, leadership, for parents, career, and adult. So if you go under general, you can see a lot of the ones that other AI hubs have, like a worksheet generator, lesson plan generator. There's a rubric, there's an essay evaluator, assignment feedback, and within the general category are these subcategories like lesson planning and design, assessment and feedback, classroom management, professional development, and communication. If you go into these other content headings such as math, a lot of those general ones are even more tailored towards that content area. So there is a lesson plan generator, but this is specifically for math courses. So it's going to make it more detailed, more tailored towards the math. There are math word problem generators, there's math assessment question generators, standards navigators, a lot of different things there. It also has some other financial literacy and economics education categories and all the AI tools that go under that, and also computer science. So you could check those out. If you're a college faculty, they do have some stuff there for college faculty. They have interactive things, so you could chat with a PDF. So you could upload a PDF or a YouTube channel script or a web URL and ask specific questions. So you're staying contained within that particular resource. And then there's some tools for the AI community and support forums in there. So this is called Teacher Server. This is a big help. It's free for teachers, so when we're talking dollars and cents, it really does make sense. All right, if we go into our next tool, which is going to be prompts for sheets, what I did is I've done a lot of work with ChatGPT, and a lot of teachers have, but I identify one of my shortcomings, which is Google Sheets. It's probably the worst of my abilities when it comes to the Google Apps for Education. So I wanted to basically give myself a new prompt to work with and work through these Google Sheets prompts each day. So it's going to give me step-by-step instructions to make Google Sheets that fit in the education world. For example, if I wanted to make an attendance tracker, I could do that in Google Sheets, and I've worked through that prompt. So what I did is I came up with 100 different uses for Google Sheets in education, and each one of the prompts that I've given allows you to use Google Sheets in that way, and it's going to give you step-by-step instructions to make that type of Google Sheet. So you want to check out that collection. The resource link will be in the show notes. It's also a part of this presentation if you want to go check out and get a copy of the presentation yourself. All right, so we got attendance trackers, we have behavior trackers. There are a lot of different uses that you might be able to use. All right, this is going to bring up my last one, which I call the AI wildcard. This is basically the progression that I will use certain AI tools in order to get a finished lesson. So when you think about it, I typically go from ChatGPT to kind of get my bare bones, kind of get my foundation of a project that I want to use. Sometimes I come up with my own project. I throw it into ChatGPT to get some ideas for extensions. Other times I just make a prompt in ChatGPT to help it get me a formulated assignment for students, and then I go in and make changes to it to personalize it to the needs of my classroom. So, for example, I could go into ChatGPT and say, hey, make me a project that has to do with character profiles in The Great Gatsby. And then from there, please describe this project in details, where the first task is to identify key traits and brief explanations of these key traits for each character. Any relationships between the characters could be task 2. Task 3 could be key excerpts from the book, like 2 to 4 passages that highlight the character's traits or motivations. And then task 4, any conflicts that character has been a part of within the book. All right, so I would put that in the ChatGPT, ask it for an example of each one of the tasks so students can see an exemplar of that, and then what they would do is work on that project. Within this project, I also made another project because I wanted to have 2 groups, so not everyone was doing the same thing. So the second input I did was, please make a project based on The Great Gatsby on color symbolisms. All right, so explain the task of the students or their role within the project, and there's going to be 2 tasks within this project. The first one is matching colors to meanings. So what meaning did each color within The Great Gatsby mean? What did each color symbolize? And then the second task is to find references or examples of each color and that meaning within the book, and pull out those anecdotes within the book. So for both of these, basically what we're building up is they're collecting the data or the examples of everything they need, because they're going to talk about it later on and make a podcast. So what I did is, the next tool that I used was Notebook LM. And Notebook LM is a tool that allows you to play around with resources that you upload. So if you're doing a research paper and you had 4 scholarly sources that you downloaded, you could upload it there, and then you could start asking questions that you want Notebook LM to kind of go through that material and pull out information that fits those categories. For example, you could ask Notebook LM, what was the different colors that were brought out in The Great Gatsby, and what did they symbolize, or what was their meaning? It would list those colors and those meanings within there. Now, oftentimes I don't give this to students. I don't give this portion of the project to students. What I do is I use it, because after I upload all those resources, and I would even put a copy of the project, I would upload that project into Notebook LM. I could ask it to make a AI-generated podcast. So what it's going to do is it's going to take all the stuff that I uploaded, and it's going to make a podcast based on the questions that I asked Notebook LM. So if I uploaded all these different resources about character development in The Great Gatsby, and one of my questions was, please give me a summary or overview of each of the main characters in Great Gatsby, it would make like a 10 to 15 minute podcast, or it could be shorter if you don't have a lot of resources in there, or longer if you have a lot, that the students can listen to for homework before coming in to do this project, or I have it after the first day when they do their project research. I have them listen to the other group's project research and take notes on that podcast. So when they come in, you could have a group that consists of one of the groups that did character profiles and one of the groups that did color symbolisms in the same one, and they can kind of know enough that they can contribute to each group's project. And then after that, they're going to make their own podcast based on either another topic or another thing in the book, or they could just do it of their own assigned project from day one. All right, so ChatGPT to kind of narrow down the project, refine it a little bit. Notebook LM to give them a resource that's going to extend that lesson. And then I have them use Canva to come up with some type of a presentation or to organize their podcast. And then finally at the end, I might take everything that we had so far and go over to diff it. And I want to check for understanding of the book and the character profiles and the color symbolisms and some conflict resolution stuff. And I could go over to diff it. They just had released a new book feature where you can find the book, and it has all the chapters uploaded, and you can make a summary. You can make any type of question that you want, whether it's short answer, discussion questions. You can make multiple choice questions, and you could put all this stuff into a meaningful activity using one of their templates. So this is a very complex lesson. This would take me a long time if I was doing it from scratch, but using these AI tools, it allows me to get a pretty thorough project out there for teachers to use. It probably would take me about a half an hour, but it would probably take me closer to 2 hours if I was doing this from scratch. If I wanted to invest that time in there and really make it meaningful for, not only this year, but years to come. All right, that's going to wrap up episode 188 of the EdTech Throwdown. Hopefully this episode brought you at least one tip or trick or tool that you could use that you didn't hear of. And until next time, make sure you go check out all our socials, our edtechthrowdown.com, as well as our YouTube channel. Next episode will be kind of back to normal. Nick had to go solo because I did not have a voice for about 3 weeks, so he picked up the slack there. Hopefully this did, this topic justice. And like I said, next time we will come back to you with one of our regular episodes, jam-packed with new, fun, and exciting things. Until next time, go check out some of the AI tools. Let us know how you're using them, and we'll check you later. Thanks for listening to the EdTech Throwdown. Do us a couple of favors. Subscribe to our podcast on any major podcast catcher such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Stitcher. Go over to YouTube, search the EdTech Throwdown, subscribe to the channel. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show's handle is EdTech Throwdown. You can connect with Guise at GuiseGotTech, Nick at NickGotTech. You can write us an Apple Podcast review. You can tell your friends about www.edtechthrowdown.com. And lastly, go over and check out our friends over at the Teach Better Podcast Network, a network that we are so proudly involved with. Until next time, remember, go try some EdTech because we will do the research so you can teach your class.